Hi. Okay. First love out. First love. First card out is Explore, Love, and Create. And it says that the only thing that's holding you guys back is yourself. So, it's definitely... I've been saying this for a while now, but it is definitely a time for some of you guys to move out of staying single. And it is now safe and officially time to fall in love again, babe. That's cool. So for those of you who are like, been healing, and you know that you've gotten over your ex, and you're feeling positive, you're not crying at night thinking about somebody in particular, you're not finding yourself going back and forth between negative things and negative memories that you guys might have shared. And you truly just feel like you are in a good place, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and financially. You're content with where you are. You're not thinking about any particular area of life more than the other. You have a good balance. It is time to explore, love, and create. I'm hearing babies this year. I don't know, man. I know this would be a crazy thing to say, especially if you haven't met anybody yet. You'd be like, baby, what? You know, it seems like it would be a little bit more down the line. But if you ask me, the babies that are supposed to be created this year, whether you even end up with the dad or not, or the mom or not, I have a feeling that honestly, the baby itself and the two people that create it are what the point of this whole thing is. And that just really stands out to me, actually, right here. It's been standing out all week, is that point keeps coming up, is that some of you guys actually in relationships are not even going to be with the person that you had a baby with. And that's just crazy to think about, honestly, sometimes. Why would you have a baby with somebody that you're not even going to be with? I actually was in that situation. I knew the outcome of what me and James were going to probably have in our life. And that's what scared me the most about the whole thing, was just knowing that realistically, there was a big chance, you guys, that him and I were not going to be together. Just knew it. And we weren't. He's not even alive today. The lifestyle that we were living was really chaotic. It was the craziest life I'd ever lived at that time. I'm pretty sure at any time. Nobody's really out crazy at me and James, to be honest. Hi guys, sorry. I gotta do something. Thanks. I'm gonna sit down. Shit. I'm gonna be in trouble if I don't hurry up. I don't normally start at 1, so I don't really like it when people are at my salon before I get there. Makes me feel rushed. Anyways, though, it is safe for you guys, those of you who feel like you resonate with those different characteristics, because having balance in your life before we explore, love, and create is key. And I'm looking over here at the next card that's coming up, and it's the Rebirth card in the reverse. So it's interesting that I would have thought the need to explain to you guys when it is safe to do those things. Some of you guys might just want to explore love and create something new. Some of you guys are tired of being where you're at. You're not happy with what you're dealing with as far as who it is that you're with. And you might think that if you start something brand new, you're gonna just pretty much escape it. But you're not. The Rebirth card is sitting over here literally in the reverse, upside down to my right. And anybody that understands, forward movement and outcome and manifestation knows we don't outrun anything. We just do circles. That's why you have a new relationship that's not working out with a different face. And that's why you keep starting over again. I didn't realize it either. However much time between relationships that we spend changing or single, and that's not just like time, it's like, what did you do in the middle of that time? Even if you were with Sylvia 6 years ago, what has really changed between the way you feel about Sylvia and those 6 years? Do you still tell people that Sylvia cheated on you and that she left you and you've had to raise all the kids by yourself and that she's a B word? Or did you ever at some point just get big enough and realize, you know what, holy crap, looking back at it now, Sylvia and I were 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. I know me and Tori were those ages, me and James were those ages. I'm 35 now, so I definitely look at a 16, 17, 18, or a 19-year-old in a different view. So are you being a hypocrite towards the fact that Sylvia was those ages when you guys couldn't make it work yourselves? Even though maybe now you might have a 16 or 17-year-old daughter or son. What would you tell them if they were getting pregnant and falling in love with somebody like you and Sylvia? Wouldn't it be a lot different? Wouldn't you know that they're literally in fucking high school and having kids and they're running around and partying, and that if you learned anything about what drugs or alcohol does to the brain, you would know that right off top. As much control as people think they have over things, they don't. They say they do. They say that they don't do things because they're not addicted, and they say they can quit at any time, and they say a lot of stuff. But you should at least get to a point in your life where you're wiser and you're smarter and you have more compassion. And if you're not and you're still hateful towards the person that you don't have in your life anymore, you need to take a good look at that. Time has passed, yes, but you haven't matured about the situation and you haven't grown. Anger and resentment is not actually valid for growth. Anger and resentment can help you stay out of a situation. It can help you stay sober, but they call it somebody that's a dry drunk. If you're dry, if you drink and you get sober, but you're mad every day of your life that you are sober, that you're not with that person, or whatever it is that you had to stop being around. If you still find yourself just resentful of it every single day, and thinking about it every single day and mad every single day that it didn't go in the way that you wanted it to go, you didn't actually really, you haven't moved forward with it. The only thing that's actually changed is just time in between, and that's why you're not going through a rebirth. You're feeling like, maybe, I'm hearing for whoever I'm speaking to, you might have even told yourself that dating is stupid and that people are not worth it, your time, and I'm hearing kind of just negative things in general. I think you did try to date a couple times after that, but you honestly became pretty insecure with the whole breakup that happened between you and this person. You lost your confidence a lot because you gave that situation a lot more power than it deserved. You started to allow yourself to actually think multiple different things. Like, you weren't getting the results that you wanted out of this person, and so you started actually just getting frustrated. It went from like a sense of like love and being together to almost a sense of like desperation, like you were freaking out. And then I feel like for some of you guys, you even started threatening a little bit. You started calling the shots. That's probably where the custody shit came in. You thought that if you did that, this person was going to have the wake-up call that you were wanting them to. but they didn't. You just kept pleading and begging, and this person just kept slipping farther and farther away. And now you don't even honestly, you may not even have contact with them regularly. This person was going through something that is a little bit deeper than a lot of people do. This person, they had a parent that they had do this. That's how they watched their parent react. And I know I'm sorry to say this, I could be wrong. But I'm picking up the vibe that this person had two parents that were kind of ridiculous. Sometimes we have at least one smart parent. I don't feel like this person did. I feel like this person had a parent that was like possibly just like a pretty active like drug user or dealer or something, but not really like in a way that is like a boss energy. It's more like kind of like weirdo energy. I feel like one of their parents was kind of like on something that made them very active. And even if they weren't, they were just very active and kind of just like odd. They were a little bit odd. And the other one was a little bit odd and nice. So you got one that does this and is just like noticeably kind of like involved in something that's their own thing that seems like it's maybe not the best thing for them, and they have a lot of energy and they're busy all the time. I feel like this person had a busy mind. They were all doing something, and the other person was maybe trying to get their attention, but they didn't really know how to like take control of the situations. They just kind of knew how to like be almost like, I mean, it's almost like whiny, slightly clingy energy, but not clingy enough to make anybody listen. It's kind of like that annoying whiny energy. Regardless, I feel like between both of the parents, honestly, the kid didn't learn much. They didn't have anybody to really look up to give them the skills that they need to comprehend what's going on here, what you're saying, what you're getting at, how you feel, what you'd like to see. Because they didn't have a parent that honestly laid any laws down. They had a parent that might have been hurt more by the other one, but neither one of them honestly took any type of steps to be proactive or positive for you, the kid itself. There's nobody honestly in the family. This person doesn't have any example. The only thing that they've ever heard as far as what you're telling them is you telling them this. Basically, this person has grown up their whole life living that way, thinking that way, doing things the way that they have been. And you're the first time they've ever even heard anything about doing it different. So you got to think about that. You got to think, if you went to school your whole damn life and then out of nowhere in your adulthood, whenever you guys met, just quite a bit of years though, but think if you did anything for this many years straight, and then you just run into you out of nowhere, and you're really the only person in their life now who's ever said anything about supposedly this whole thing that they're doing being not right. Maybe their parents didn't think it was wrong. I mean, she or he might have wished that their parents could have gotten along better, but they don't know what that is. The only thing they really know as far as like what didn't go right is they just actually could feel their body feeling sad when somebody else was fighting around him. They didn't actually know the difference between a healthy relationship and a non-one. So if that can make sense to you, it's just, you know how shit goes, and it does suck. But as you become a mom yourself, you'll end up letting little kids come over to your house and play. And I've had a few different things at my house that I just noticed and I had concern over. And maybe richer parents feel the same way about, my kids at times. It just depends on the type of people you're surrounded by. But I found out, in one area that I lived, I was in a low-income housing neighborhood. I didn't mind. I thought the kids were great for a little while, until I started to realize that some of them were stealing things from my kids. And that was whatever, I mean, we can replace it, but I started to hear different stories about their family some of the kids were dealing with inmate parents, and some of them were being, they were going through CPS, and some of them were abused, and some of them, I even found kids that must have been yelled. There was this one kid, dude, it was real sad. He was a sweetheart. I think his name was Daniel. I kept finding toilet paper stuck down in my heater vents after the bathroom was being used. And at that time, I lived in a neighborhood with several kids. And they would always come over and play games and stuff. There's no problem, but basically, I didn't know at that time who had done what. I kept asking over and over, who the fuck is putting this toilet paper down there? I didn't know at the time that sometimes, different religions don't actually flush toilet paper. I think I learned that either there or on the boat, one of the two. But before that, I was confused. I was like, why the heck is this toilet paper in the vent? I thought maybe my kids were just doing dumb stuff, or I don't even know. It was just a really weird thing. I don't want any toilet paper used anywhere ever in my heater vent. That's freaking gross, So I'm freaking out about it. Come to find out, it was Daniel. Now, Daniel had spent a lot of time at my house. He was very quiet. He was very sweet. And, I don't know. He was just, really sweet. He didn't even talk that much. And when he did, I don't even know if he could actually speak correctly, exactly. I think he had a speech issue, because I don't feel like he was taught, I don't feel like he was educated to the degree that he could have been, just because when you're dealing with parents that have a lot going on in their personal lives, they don't spend the time that they need with a child to help them develop properly. And you can already see here that now my son's, we're talking about 10 years old, if not older. So Daniel was about that age, but already at 10 years old, he can't even talk correctly. Because actually, this is weird that I'm even bringing that up, but that scene that I was describing about these two parents and how their behavior was, that's pretty much almost exactly like how it was with Daniel. His dad was fucking weird, dude. In and out of the house. I found out later. Super weird. Like that type of dad where you're like, that guy's weird. I was actually thinking legit about reporting them to CPS because, of how weird he looked and it wasn't even his real dad. It was a stepdad. And anyways, Daniel tells me a lot of weird stuff is going on, you know what I mean? In the house. I don't know why I even started this story, but you know what? At the end of it, guys, I think I found out it was his fucking mother who was actually being abusive. Isn't that crazy? I actually went to her one day, so I just figured with as weird as that guy looked, maybe she felt like she didn't have anywhere to go and turn to her, you know what I mean? And so I don't know if I told her or Daniel, that if she ever needed help or anything, never to hesitate to hit me up, and then I wouldn't get, the authorities or anything involved, but just so that she just at least knew, woman to woman, she had somewhere to be or somewhere to call in case. I just wanted her to know that she wasn't alone. Come to find out, it was literally possibly her. She was fully aware of what was happening in the home. She just didn't really do anything about it. It's crazy. So, a lot of times when we don't know exactly what we're dealing with, for one, we could be wrong. And these children never did. They never learned how to read. They don't learn how to write. So when they get to these adulthoods and these relationships, you gotta ask yourself, what does a relationship mean to this type of child? Well, what kind of child are we dealing with? Possibly sexually abused. So relationship to it means having intimacy, whether voluntary or not, to be technical. And it just means sex, possibly. It can be with the same or different sex. And they may not know how to read. They may not know how to write. A schedule to them can just mean that, there's school on some days and there's not on others. This person probably missed a lot of school if they even graduated. Their parents, again, were so caught up in their personal stuff that what their schedule was, it was not a priority to them. They didn't care. In fact, I feel like the only time this person really asked them if they were doing what they needed to was really just like because they might have noticed that they were hanging out for too long in their area. So this might have been just like something like, did you get your room done? Is your homework finished? Are you done yet? Whatever it is. But this person wasn't really like asked about things in a way where people cared. It was probably just like a conversation starter a lot of times. And it was like to get them to get the heck out of their space. Like it was more like a go do this kind of like question. And so this person, they don't really know proper communication. They don't really know what it's like to see a healthy relationship. They've never seen a healthy relationship. What you're telling them, what are you doing that for? Why would you do something like that? What do you mean you didn't come home last night? Do you not freaking understand what I'm saying, dude? What the fuck are you talking about? No, they don't. They don't. The only thing that they understand is honestly what their parents look like. If you really wanted to know this person for who they are and what they're capable of doing, if you've ever listened to them talk about the things that happened in their home or their family life, you could refer to that. But honestly, with the skills that this person has, with you sitting there being mad at them about things not working out between you two, even if you raised these kids by yourself, I don't think even to this day they're even capable of understanding what to do right. And I know it sucks to hear something like that. You know what I mean? I know that you've loved them. But I want you to know that more than likely you guys connected because you probably felt the same way about your parents at some time. You might have realized that, based off of how this person's family was, or vice versa, maybe you thought, eventually, after you thought it through, it wasn't as bad as, you thought you'd had it. You've seen worse. I know I did that. I thought my mom was just terrible, honestly. Then I saw Kai's parents. Kai's parents were pretty nice. They didn't know anything about the drug life, and Kai could go over there basically whenever. And they actually didn't really know he was high. We'd all be high. And they'd be like, oh, hi, Kai, we love you. How are you, honey? And I thought, dang, that'd be nice, to have parents that fucking don't know anything that you're doing. Because I had a mom that knew everything that I was up to, and I just hated it. And I thought how nice it would be to have dumb parents like Kai's, you know what I mean? But then again, I'm pretty sure I found out even like that year or the next year that I would not want parents like Kai's, because Kai kept going to jail over and over. Every time he'd get a charge, he'd get released eventually, and then he would get another one. He was doing anything that you could think of, from ciphering gas out of the U-Hauls to everything. And everybody knew about him. And all of a sudden it made me realize, that guy, he never had discipline. Like, nobody ever told him straight up, like, bro, don't fucking do that, And even though sometimes it's fun, I guess, to a degree to get away with stuff, he didn't really get away. It was just that the next person had to deal with it. He had to deal with it. I mean, shit, he went to jail all the time on it because of dumb shit. So was he really getting away with it, or was he kind of set up for failure? I don't know. I can see that now. I really don't know where Kai is. I haven't heard anything about him. More than likely, he's freaking in prison. Could have OD'd. He's prisoner OD. I feel like we would have heard about him already at this point, but that was actually one of James's best friend, my baby daddy. And he died too. And then you know what? His other best friend, Terry, fucking prison too, dude. Whether they're either dead or in prison in that group. The only one that actually didn't die or do bad is Justin. He's literally the only one in the whole damn group that didn't do the same thing. Just keep that in mind, you know. You can actually change, even if you're in a group full of people that are doing dumb shit. You can be like Justin. And to be honest, they kind of went... Terry tried to change for a little bit. He cut ties with all of us. He'd say, no, I'm not hanging out with you guys no more. I don't want to do that stuff. And I think for a few years, he actually did do the right thing. He just had a relapse as well. Back in prison again, too. So, it's just a cycle. You can't really honestly tell anybody how they should or shouldn't be. You don't really know a lot about where they came from. Even if they're like, oh, yeah, my parents, one of them cooked meth, and the other one had to divorce the other one for it. So, yeah, I learned a lot of shit, you know, at a young age. But I had one parent, honestly, that was opposite of the other. And I had a criminal parent, and I had a legal parent, so I got really lucky. A very nice balance of events. So that's just a good example for you guys to know that if you are worried about somebody and how they didn't change and do what you thought that they should have been doing, no matter how smart you are, you see that this person could be. You may not understand like their actual core foundation. And no matter how big we all get, we know a lot of people that didn't really mature even in our own friends group. And since we know that when you guys experience trauma, your body and brain stops processing shit. They don't develop after that. Unless you have, like, really strong professional help. And some of these people out there didn't. They stayed on the streets. They stayed using drugs. They stayed being crazy. So, no, they're not actually able to have, you know, functioning relationships. So if that's something that you ever went through, then try to have empathy for this person instead of anger and forgive them. So you're going through a real rough time, even though you might be the one left with the kids. I guess the best thing that we could do is just honestly accept the fact that we more than likely met them and hooked up with them for this lesson. Should have happened earlier. And it also just means that the reason why you guys did hook up wasn't because you made a mistake. It was because you guys were both young and you guys were both running away from childhood pains that some people can mature and overcome. Some people didn't. You know what I mean? Don't be too hard on yourself or them.